Hey, this is Thursday, May 21st. This is officially the last day that we have class that you guys are going to have to do stuff. It is completely optional again. As I mentioned, today is not an actual story. Today is going to be a slightly different thing. For those of you who only want upbeat, happy stories from my childhood, then you're probably going to want to oops out on this one because today is more emotional in feels and connections. I do have a final bonus one tomorrow for two reasons. The reason I'm doing a bonus one tomorrow. One is because there's a story I did not get a chance to tell you about me getting into a fight when I was in junior high. And so it's sort of a fun one. I like to end on that one, so I'll save that for tomorrow. And two, I've got a feeling our last Zoom, you guys are going to want to talk and interact and stuff like that. And I will not be able to do that after today's video. For me, today's video usually is going to be, at least during school year, is emotionally draining. And so I will not be able to sit there and do like a talky thing back and forth. And so it's going to be much more of a, when we're done today, we're going to be done. And then tomorrow, if you want us to hang around, talk and stuff like that, I am more than happy to hang around and talk tomorrow after I give you a much happier video. All right, let me do the boring PowerPoint thing real quick, and then we'll get into me talking, and we're going to see how things go. All right, so it's there. Click, and the screen to here. By the way, this is also the first time I've ever done this, knowing that I have non-students listening, knowing I have Mama Juanita, who's right there, and all the little Juanita-lings who are listening along too. It's going to really throw me off. And I probably have trucks and little younger trucks who's going to be listening. And the fact that I know I have Swervo, my high school kid who's come in, it is going to really throw me off on all kinds of levels. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. So again, Skyward is updated. I did not do, those of you who did the extra credit yesterday, I have not done that extra credit yet. I will be doing that this afternoon. So if you were doing the extra credit ones, I will be putting those. The assignments you guys are turning in, I update Skyward every day moving forward. So just give me 24 hours to get things in there, and then they will be there. Again, I am not giving you any new grades. Just turn in all your late missing stuff. And there is no, if you have no missing assignments, let me know, and I will make sure fourth 9 weeks matches third 9 weeks. By the way, when we end this video, you guys are pretty much officially 8th graders. If you've not processed that or thought about it, realize you are mere minutes away from being an 8th grader. So once we finish, I mean, we're done with 7th grade and you guys get to go into 8th grade life and be all kinds of big kid stuff. School drop-off is next Thursday. Once again, that's on my website, which I can show you here in just a moment. Click. Again, all the e-learning stuff is on there. Again, for those of you who are wanting to do this drop-off, it's on my e-learning site. So just go to e-learning site and you should be good to go. There's a thing that tells you when to do it, how to do the iPad, what things to be dropped off. It's all at the very top of the page. Go to the e-learning thing, scroll down, and it tells you all the stuff that'll help you out as far as that goes. Again, today is officially our last day of school, and then I do have a bonus Zoom tomorrow. Bonus Zoom, again, is at 10:30. In theory, it's not a super long story, but it will just maybe talking about me getting into a fight. All right, those of you who are wanting to do the extra credit, this is your last extra credit one. I will not be doing an extra credit one tomorrow. So if you want to do the whole screenshot thing, you're more than welcome to. The room name is My Advice. Capitals and lowercase letters don't matter as long as you just have MYADVICE. The question is on there, so I'm not going to give you the question ahead of time. It is just if you want to jump into it, you can, and you are more than welcome to do that with your last 2 points. Do you have a question? You put away your clothes, and all the clothes are put away, and you're responsible, and you waited till now to do it?
Yeah, pretty much.
There you go. Way to be responsible. Yeah, you could have broken that phone. So again, this is completely optional. I don't believe I am putting it up again at the end. I think this is the only time I have it. So if you remind me, I can rewind to it, but all right, that's all I have. All right. So on here, here's my request I'm going to have for you. I don't know how today is going to go. So my request to you is going to be this. If you are not just sitting and watching, I'm going to request that you either turn off your video or point it so it faces the wall or something like that. Those of you who like to move around and dance and make food and stuff like that, I have no problem with it. Most days I love it and it entertains me. Today is going to be a struggle for me. So my request to you is to just turn off your video because I'm probably going to have your screens up in front of me. And if it's just you sitting watching, I'm fine with that. Because here's where part of my issue goes in. Today is not a story. Today is me giving advice. And I always give today, it's me giving advice, and I go off of how kids react. So I need to see faces to understand how what I'm saying is impacting you or not. So you sitting there watching is a good thing because I need that interaction, is how I teach. But if it's you spinning around and dancing, I'm going to have a lot of issues as far as me going through and doing things. So my request will just be, just turn off your video or turn it so it faces the wall or something like that. And that's absolutely fine with me. That's all I'm looking for from you. Okay. Before I get into my emotional stuff, here's a gift for you. I went back into my high school yearbook and I found pictures of junior high me. This is a 7th grade picture of me. And then I mentioned my best friend, Mr. Brown, he's a teacher here in HSE, Eric Brown. And so this is his 7th and 8th grade picture. I mentioned my best friends, Mike and Mark. The 4 of us hung out. It was me and then Eric Brown and then Mike and Mark. And the 4 of us were inseparable all throughout junior high. It was the 4 of us did everything together. So I thought I would show you guys the pictures of us in 7th and 8th grade. If you were unaware of this, back when I was a kid, we didn't have color. The world was in black and white. So we didn't have color pictures of me as a child. I didn't get to be colorized until much later in life. The picture all the way to the right, the one that says Dana Casassa, that's not a friend. That's my junior high crush. That is the girl that I absolutely dreamed about nonstop throughout all of my junior high years. But I figured if I'm opening up about all of my embarrassing stuff from the back, I'm going to go ahead and throw this at you. Here's my embarrassing stuff from the background. Also, I had a crush on her throughout all of 7th and 8th grade. And I know your question will be, did you ever go out with her? And my answer to that is no, not even close. The closest that ever came to happening was me finding out where her house was and creepily riding my bike past her house multiple times, hoping that she would just wander outside and we could start up a conversation. That never happened because it was incredibly creepy. But when you're in junior high, that's the kind of incredibly creepy things that you do. So I figured I'd share a little bit of background information with you on that. Another question that usually comes up is, why are you wearing a tie in your 8th grade picture and why are they wearing ties? In my junior high, if you were on the football team, they made you wear a tie. For the school picture, you had to dress up and be all fancy for the school picture. So when you went through the yearbook, you could see all the football players like dressed up in their ties and stuff like that. And so I played football my 8th grade year. If your first reaction to that is one of shock, there's a good reason for that. Tomorrow's story, when I get into a fight, it involves me playing football in 8th grade. So that'll be a small gift that you're going to have. Now, I have one more thing I'm going to show you. These pictures are going to be a couple more I have for you. One, Vince Kuiper was one of my best friends in junior high in 7th and 8th grade. And then he was one of my friends that turned to drugs as I went through high school. And he was my first friend that died. And he died of a drug overdose my freshman year of college. And so he was the one that lived at my house, had a horrible home life. And so he would get away from his home as much as possible. He was the kid, I don't know if you guys have this with your friends, who would just like walk into our house like he owned it. Like we would come home sometimes from like the grocery store and he'd be sitting on our couch watching TV, eating cookies. And my parents like, Vince, he's like, hey, how you guys doing? Because he was over at our house so much, he was pretty much just welcome there. But then home life sort of caught up to him. And then high school, he became our high school drug dealer. And then it really caught up to him right after high school. And then he was my friend that died. I remember it destroyed me when I found out about it. Chris Whiteman, also my junior high friend, also went the route of drugs, but he turned his life around. He and I are actually now friends nowadays, and he and I are actually in contact. It's one of those kids who went from best friends in junior high, went down the path of drugs, and then we lost complete contact. And then the joy of social media is we found each other on Facebook, and like he and I are now friends and have close beliefs, and he lives out in like Colorado and stuff like that. But it's weird how life works. The last two. And I always worry about showing these pictures because I worry that someone's going to know them. Darren Thompson and Rob Bennett are going to show up in tomorrow's story. These are my junior high bullies. These are the two kids who made my life awful. And I remember them to this day. And I worry that someday I'm going to tell this story and the kid's going to be like, my uncle's name is Darren Thompson. And I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm like, he went to Noblesville. And it's gonna be like one of those small world kind of things. So I figured I'd show you guys those two or those pictures also as a little bonding thing. All right. Then house layout, just to remind you, just a quick review for those of you who missed it. Me getting arrested the first time when I was 8 years old. Me getting arrested the second time when I was a freshman in high school for stealing breath spray because I was absolutely as cool as I thought I was. And then finally me getting arrested when I was in college because I was trying to be a good person. But the police don't care if you're trying to be a good person. When you break the law, bad things are going to happen to you. Okay. So now to today's story. I'm going to take it off the screen in just a moment so it comes back to me, and we're going to see how this goes. Stop sharing. Back to this guy. All right. So I have a whole thing of notes here to try and help me out because I get sort of lost and distracted, and it's going to be hard for me to focus. Normally when I teach, like throughout the school year, me doing my whole teaching thing, I come across as confident and I talk well in front of people because I know what I'm doing. It's just sort of who I am. The stories the last 3 days have been a little bit different because those are not me just telling generic English learning stuff. It's stuff that connects to me. So emotions come in, and emotions make everything a little bit tougher. Today is going to be a little bit tougher for a thing for me to get through because today's not a story. Today is me giving advice. So I used to think that teaching was all about telling kids about English. And like that was my job, was just to tell kids about English and make them smarter. And that was my belief for years until, as I mentioned when I first told the story about the kids who started coming back and talking to me, my high school kids who would randomly show up at my door to come by and have conversations with me and stuff like that. And over the years, I learned that I don't think my most important job is teaching English. I actually think it's probably one of the least important things that I do, especially in the junior high. Maybe at the high school level, teaching your subject matter is the most important thing. But I fully believe in the junior high level, that is not the most important thing I should be doing. The most important thing I should be doing is making you better humans, making you better people. So I have adjusted how I teach over the course of the years. The most important thing I do is today, which is why you are seeing a more anxiety prone, a more nervous version of me. My whole year is built upon the message I give you today. In my eyes, the information I'm going to give you today is more important than any of the English knowledge I gave you, any of the stories I gave you. The reason why I told you stories the last 3 days, aside from the fact that it entertains you, is to earn your trust. Because if you think about the fact that a teacher says, hey, I want you to just sit and listen to me give you advice about how to become a better person, for most of you, your first response is, okay, boomer, whatever. And I fully accept that. So my goal this year was to earn your trust and respect for today, for today's message to have weight. And I know that a lot of kids, when you look at adults, you see us and think that, you know, either we were never kids, or we don't make mistakes, or we feel we don't make mistakes, or that we look at ourselves as perfect beings. And so I wanted to give you stories of me knowing that I am not a perfect being. I know I've made mistakes. I come from a background of issues. I've been arrested. My parents have been divorced multiple times. I have addiction that runs to my family. I know what pain is. And I tell you that because I've had conversations with kids where they come and talk to me and they try to tell me, Mr. Broviak, you don't know what I'm going through. You don't understand what, and I'm telling you, I do. There's almost nothing that you can go through that I have not experienced. I have not given you all of my stories. I've just given you a small handful of my stories. And I managed to go through all of that, and I get stronger. I know throughout the year, you guys see me as a happy, smiley, friendly, outgoing person. And it's easy to believe that I lead a happy, friendly, outgoing, perfect life. And I don't. the personality that you see in front of you in my classroom or when we do a Zoom, it's by choice. I choose to be the way that I am. There's pain in my life. The last 3 years of my life have been incredibly stressful with things that have happened in it. But that's not a thing that you guys see. Not because I choose to hide it, because I don't choose to let it destroy me. So, what I want to be able to pass along to you today is advice on how to make you a stronger person, because you are going to have hardships. Not all of you are going to get arrested. Change that. I hope not all of you are going to get arrested, but you're going to go through things that are going to suck. You're going to go through things that are going to be awful. At some point in your life, coming forward, you're going to have a moment where you think this is the day where it all ends, where you cannot continue. You're going to have a moment where you go, this is it. I cannot continue because I've done a thing that is so awful. There's no continuing from it. Everybody's gotten to that point. Now, everybody's point is different. That moment that you have will not be the same moment that other people have, but everybody has that moment. What I wanted to do with my stories is show you my moments and the fact that you can get past them, that it's possible to have that moment and still keep growing from it, to not have it be the end of your world. I'm more aware of your guys' lives than I think you think I am, with the number of kids who come and talk to me, 8th graders who talk to me, 7th graders who talk to me, the kids who send me remind messages, Instagram messages. I am more in the loop on student gossip and things that happen than I ever thought I would be. And I know so much of what has happened in your guys' lives that I don't tell you about. And I know a lot of you guys have had rough years, that you guys have really, really struggled this year. And I completely understand that. And what gets tough for me, sorry, this is where I get some of the emotional bits. I will say, as much as I hate Zoom, it is easier because I can look away and not make eye contact with you. As I learn about your guys' struggles, sorry. No, but thank you. I'm good. I'll get through it. Emotions are for weak people. I don't have them myself. Is that I've taught a long time, 22 years. And with that, I see paths in front of like every single kid who comes from my room. I see a good path and I see a dark path, because when I was a younger teacher, I used to think that every good kid in my class led a good life, and every bad kid in my class leads a bad life. And it was as simple as that. And I could pick out my good kids and my bad kids. And it was a simple thing to do as a teacher. And then kids started talking to me. And the problem with kids talking to me is I start to learn about you, and I learn what kind of people you are. And I started realizing that kids who I thought were really good kids with like perfect lives don't have perfect lives. Sorry. That a lot of kids struggle hard. And there's a lot of kids who I thought were bad kids who are not bad kids. They simply have bad home lives. Sorry. Part of what happens to me now at this point in my story, is just, God bless it, is why it's hitting me harder today. No, it'll not make it tougher. Is I start picturing my students, and I see the kids who I know have hard lives in front of them. And it's no offense to my high schooler who's in here, Laura. Sorry. And Laura, I know you've had a hard life, kiddo. Okay. Okay. I'm okay. I'm better now. Sorry. Laura, I know you've had a hard life. And that's part of what hits me is seeing the fact that kids like you come back and stay in contact with me. Um, and the fact that I have eighth graders who have stayed in contact with me. In all honesty, today's hit me hard because of this Zoom thing. I so badly just want to be in the classroom and teaching you guys and talking to you. And this is just, it's hard, but we're going to get through it. All right, so I see two paths in front of you guys. I see a dark path and I see a light path. And what hurts me is you guys make me like you, which is a horrible thing to do with students. It is so much easier as a teacher to not like kids because it's easier to teach if you don't like kids. Because when you start liking kids, you start caring about them. And the problem with caring about kids is that you start finding out about their home lives and you start finding out about what's going on in their world. And it's too easy to care. And then kids come back and talk to me when they're in eighth grade. And they're, why can I not get through this today? Oh. All right. In eighth grade. And I see the fact that kids who I thought had the perfect lives in junior high don't. And when I talk to you guys in seventh grade, and I see you in my classrooms, I see a path of happiness and I see a path of sadness. And I don't know which path you're going to take. And I see my kids in my advanced classes. And I used to think every kid in my advanced class had that good life. And I was like, it's easy. You guys are smart and you guys are good kids. And your life in front of you is going to be great. And then my advanced kids send me remind messages, and my advanced kids talk to me, and I see the fact they don't. And I think I see my kids in my regular classes who goof off and don't do homework and drive me insane and make me want to strangle them. And it's so badly just want to hate those kids. But then I talk to them, and I find out that their home life is awful, or they're not getting along with friends and stuff like that. And some of you guys, you're going to get through it. And that's what makes me happy. So many of you who come back to talk to me as eighth graders and high school kids, you figure it out. And you become these amazing high school kids who were horrible goobers in junior high, who were just dorks because that's what junior high is. And then all of a sudden you figure out who you want to be when you get to high school. And it makes my life so much happier when these high school kids come back and talk to me. But then I have high school kids who come back to talk to me and they tell me about how they drop out or how they're pregnant or any number of other poor choices they've done. And then I see my seventh graders and I see that in my seventh graders. And what hurts, if you can imagine having someone you care about. Hang on. I have to get rid of your faces. Looking at your faces is killing me. I mean that in the nicest way. I can't do it. All right. And I see the fact that some of you guys are on that path. And I care about you. And if you can imagine having a family member, a brother or a sister, and you know that they're on a path to hurt themselves, whether it be drug abuse or poor choices or a dark path of some kind. And you care about this family member and you want to help this family member, but you can't make choices for them. That's not how the world is. You have to make your own choices. And you just watch as this family member goes down this path of darkness and it destroys you, knowing that you can do nothing to stop it. That's what it's like being a teacher. That's what it's like when I watch you guys make these poor choices. Now imagine that your interaction with this family member ends at the end of the year. And you just have to trust them to go off on their own and make the right choices. That's what it's like for me. This is my last moment to have an impact on you. My last moment to put you on that path of goodness. I want you guys to come back and talk to me. I want you guys to come back and have conversations with me. But I don't want it to be when you drop out or when you get arrested or when you're pregnant when you're 16. Don't get me wrong. I will absolutely talk to you when you do. Don't think I'm saying don't talk to me if that's your path. I'm saying I don't want that to be your path. But if it is, I want to be there to help you. So I use today to pass along a message to you. I'm struggling more today than normal. My emotions are a little bit stronger than normal, but I'm going to try and pass along words to try and help you get through that. For some of you, I know you're in a dark place now, and hearing these words will have an impact on you immediately. For others of you, my words today will have no impact whatsoever, and that's fine. For some of you, as I speak, you lead a happy life. You get along with your parents. You get along with your siblings. There's no drug use in your family. There's no abuse in your family. There's nothing but happiness in your family, and that's wonderful. Oh my God, do not feel ashamed or upset about that. That is an absolutely wonderful thing for you to have. But for some of you, that darkness is coming. Those poor choices are still going to be in front of you. And these words won't have impact for you until down the line in the future. For some of you, it won't be until 8th grade. It won't be until your freshman year. It won't be until high school when you're going to remember this. And for you right now, you're just sitting watching the video of your English teacher cry in front of you, and you're just laughing at the fact that this is a thing that gets to amuse you. And oh my God, that is absolutely fine. In my dream world, that's all of you. I have 50 of you just sitting there giggling at the fact that I'm a crying mess. And you're like, this is the best thing in the world, because that means that your life is happy and good. And that's exactly what I want. The problem is that's not the way it works. And in fact, I know there's a lot of kids who don't have that. And I think, in all honesty, what is hurting me today doing this on Zoom is some of the kids who I know need to hear this message aren't here because they didn't join the Zoom, because they didn't want to do this day and they've written this year off. In a normal school year, they're in my classroom and they can't avoid it. And I get to have this conversation with me. And so that's why. I think it hurts me knowing that I don't get to contact those kids. Okay. Hang on. Trying to think of what I want to say next. I'm going to try and go with a less emotional route. We'll see if that helps. Probably not, but we're going to try and find out. Let's see. I want to go, sorry, looking at my notes and I'm trying to recenter myself. Okay, let's go with this direction. I want you guys to take control of your life. Moving forward from here, and I mentioned this a little bit before, your parents look at you like you're little kids, and I fully understand that. I've had 2 7th grade daughters, one now and one that was 2 years ago, and I understand how parents think. And for a lot of you, I know it's frustrating that your parents see you as a little kid still, and that is absolutely not how you feel. You don't feel like you're still a little kid. But for your parents, it's hard to accept you growing up. And so they're going to hold on to you being a little kid longer than they should. It's a thing that parents do. You want to grow up and they don't want you to. And that's going to be a nonstop battle. But here's the issue. I'm not your parent. I'm your teacher. And I know what's coming in front of you. And I've had so many past students come back and talk to me that I know 7th grade is the last year of innocence for a lot of kids. For a lot of you, 7th grade was not innocent at all. For a lot of you, 7th grade was an eye-opening year. But for those of you who wasn't, within the next year, by the time you leave 8th grade, you will know a kid who has started smoking, vaping, drinking, drugs, is sexually active in some way. It's going to happen in the next year by the time you leave 8th grade. Every kid I have spoken to, when they leave 8th grade, can tell me, yeah, I can name a kid. And a lot of you right now in 7th grade can't. You might have some idea, maybe there's this kid that you think could be a hooligan, but you're not sure. That's the joy of 7th grade. But by 8th grade, by the time you leave, it's not going to be, I think, it's a, I know and you are going to know a kid who has done that. For some of you, you know a kid right now because you're on that path. And I know I have kids on this Zoom right now because I know my names and I know conversations I've had who already know that. I know I have kids on here now who have already been in the crowds, who smoke, who vape, around the kids, who are sexually active in ways they should not be in the junior high. But what's going to happen by the time you're in high school, by the time you get to the end of your freshman year, it's not going to be a kid you know. It is going to be one of your friends. It is going to be a kid that you have known forever. Will be that kid that gets in trouble for drinking or vaping or being sexually active or doing a thing they shouldn't do. Or if they don't get in trouble for it, you're going to know that they're sneaking around and doing it. It is coming. You can't avoid it. It's just part of what life is. At some point, it's going to be around you. What I want to do is help guide you to help that not be your path. There's a reason why people, kids, drink. There's a reason why they turn to drugs, and there's a reason why they go down those paths. For some of them, it is going to be the idea of fitting in, is going to be the idea of peer pressure, but that's not for most of them. The reason why they do is because of pain. There's something in their life that is painful. There's something in their home life that is awful, that they have parents they don't get along with. They have siblings they don't get along with. There's something going on that makes them upset. And here's the worst part about drugs and alcohol. They work. They get rid of pain. Alcohol gets rid of pain. Drugs, they get rid of pain, but they don't do it the right way, which is why they're addicting. If they didn't work, people wouldn't do them. And that's what pulls kids towards them. And what hurts me is I know you guys are in pain. I know so many of you guys are in pain with what's going on in your life. And I know how tempting it is to go down that path of drugs and alcohol because I've seen it in my own family. And I don't want that for you. So how do I stop you from going down that path? Because that's what I want. But I can't make that choice for you. Only you get to make that choice. So I shared stories of my childhood and my poor choices and how I recovered from it. And the fact that I didn't get to do drugs or drinking when I was in high school because I got arrested. And I'm not recommending getting arrested as the path for you to go down. I'm hoping instead you're stronger than I am. I want you to be a stronger person than I was and to be able to say no to it. But it's not going to be easy. One of the toughest things in junior high is friendships. Junior high friendships are tough. It's one of the first questions I ask any of my 8th graders or any of my high school kids who come and talk to me is, what kids from junior high do you still hang out with? And for the vast majority of them, it's not many. Most high school kids don't hang out with the same group they hung out in junior high, and that's okay. Part of junior high is figuring out who you want to be, and who you want to be moving forward is not always the same person you were when you were younger, when you were in intermediate school or 7th grade or elementary school, and you're going to figure out who you want to be. One of the toughest decisions you are going to make in junior high is leaving friends. It is scary leaving friends. It is a frightening thing to have to abandon those people you grow up with when you realize you're not on the same path. And your paths are going to change for different reasons. For some of you, it's because you're going to find out your friends are in pain and they need drugs and alcohol. And that is not a thing that you want. So you are going to separate. Or it might be the fact that you need drugs and alcohol and your friends decide not to, and you go a different path. Maybe your friends care about popularity and social media and having people look at them, and that's not a thing that's important to you. What you need to do moving forward is figure out who you want to be. Figure out what's important to you and figure out what person you want to be, and then find other people who are like that. It's okay to change friend groups. It's okay to adjust who you hang out with. It's normal. It's healthy. It's what you're supposed to do. It's one of the things I've learned from being a teacher this long is that figure out who you want to be. Do you want to be sporty? Do you want to be nerdy? Do you want to be that kid who reads? Do you want to be that kid who does TikToks? That's fine. Figure it out and hang out with people who are like that. Also, don't worry about other people's opinions. This was a moment. All right, hang on. I gotta take a quick time out. I gotta blow my nose. It's killing me. I'll be right back. I'm back. Feeling much better. Less emotions, much stronger. Let me jump back real quick. Another quick story. When I was in junior high, I wanted to be popular. Most important thing in the world to me. It's all I cared about. It's going to lead to my story tomorrow, the fact of me trying to hang out with popular kids. It's also one of the biggest regrets I've ever had in my life was the fact that I ditched friends to try and be popular. And I have a friend, John Montgomery, who I was friends with my 7th grade year. And John and I were both dorks. We played with toys together, like G.I. Joes and stuff like that. Nowadays, I play with like Barbie dolls or Transformers, and we played with them all the time. And I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, but the cool kids didn't. The cool kids didn't play with G.I. Joes and Transformers. The cool kids cared about what the girls thought and going on the bike rides and everything. And so I made a decision to stop hanging out with John. A conscious decision that I was going to cut my best friend free because I thought he was holding me back. And so I remember to this day, there was a day where John called and he wanted me to come over and hang out. And I decided I was done hanging out with John because John was a dork and I couldn't be a dork because I was going to hang out with the cool kids. So I didn't answer the phone. And my younger brother did. And I remember my younger brother answering the phone, and he came to me. He was like, "John's on the phone." And I remember saying, "I'm not going to talk to him." My brother's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Tell him I'm busy." He goes, "What?" I'm like, I'm not hanging out with John anymore." And I remember the look of confusion and hurt on my younger brother's face when I made him lie to my best friend that I wasn't going to hang out with him. And I'd like to say that that changed me, and I became a better person because I realized what an awful human I was at that moment. That's not how these stories work. I committed to it, and I ditched John, and I committed to trying to hang out with the popular kids, and it was a failure because that's not who I was. And it wasn't until my freshman year, 2 years later, and I remember I'd spent 2 years, 7th grade, 8th grade, part of 9th grade, doing everything I could to hang out with the popular kids, and it was not working. And I was on the bus one day, and I was riding the bus, and there were two girls sitting in front of me who were two popular girls. And I was listening to them talk, and because they were loud, and I was just trying to figure out, I was like, "Ooh, what are they talking about?" Creepily listening, as you do as a human. And I was trying to listen to them, and they were talking about making fun of some other kid on the bus. And they were going back and forth about how dumb this kid was, and they were making fun of them. And as I listened to them, I had what's called an epiphany. And an epiphany is a moment of sudden realization that changes your life. And this was 30 years ago. I had this epiphany. I didn't like them. They were bad people. They were bad humans. And I was ditching people who liked me to try and hang out with people I didn't even like. And it changed how I viewed the world. And at that moment, I decided I was done trying to be popular. I was done trying to get people who did not like me to like me. And from then on, I was only going to deal with people who liked me for who I was. And it changed my life in ways I cannot describe. When you stop caring what other people think of you, it changes everything. When you get to the point where you only care about the people that are important to you, caring about you, It is so empowering. You want to know why I smile, why I seem to be in a good mood? It's because I don't let the opinions of people I don't care about impact who I am. If you want to find happiness, if you want to change your life, figure out who you want to be, figure out what's important to you, and stop letting other people create an opinion of you. I found a quote just like 2 weeks ago that is now my new favorite quote. Here's what it is. It says, "You have no control over who people think you are, so stop worrying about it. If they want to hate some fictional version of you that exists in their own mind, then let them. Stop exhausting yourself trying to win over people you can't win over. Go where the kindness is." That is the smartest quote I think I've ever read. Stop trying to impress people that are going to have their own opinion of you. You cannot change other people's opinions of you. All you can do is control your opinion of you and hope it matches up. And if it doesn't, then move on. Okay. I'm afraid I'm going to ramble way too long today. So I'm going to try and cut down a bit. But I want you guys to realize also, a thing I mentioned the other day is that when I was a kid, I thought everybody's life was like mine. I thought every kid had alcoholic grandparents, and I thought everyone's home life was like mine because that's natural, that's human. I think every kid assumes every family is like theirs. And if you have a good home life where your parents love you, if you have a home life where they eat dinner with you, if you have a home life where your parents say the words, "I love you" to you, and they hug you, and you get along with siblings, and there's no yelling, and there's no drug use, and your parents are there for you, that's a wonderful thing. But what you have to understand is not every kid comes from that home life. We have students at our school who never hear the words, "I love you," ever. They don't have a parent who hugs them. They don't have a happy home life at all. I have a lot of students who contact me that school is their happy place. You understand how scary that is? That school is their happy place. It means that their home life is so awful that they have to escape it by going to school. The place that kids are supposed to hate is their happy place. Imagine, if you will, that there is a kid who goes home and their parents physically abuse them, that they never get hugged, they don't get to have food made for them, and that every horrible thing that you can imagine happens. They are at our school. I know because I talk to them. I know because I have conversations with them. What you have to understand is that is what they assume every other kid's home is like. They assume your perfect home, your happy home, is like theirs. And then they realize that your home is not. And they realize that your parents don't yell at you. Your parents don't beat you. Your parents say, "I love you." The level of jealousy and unhappiness and pain that those kids feel is overwhelming. The amount of pain that comes from knowing that other kids get to have a happy life and they don't is hard for a kid to take. So how do you think those kids react to it? They lash out. They're mean. They become bullies, and they try to share their pain with you. They don't do it because they're awful people. They do it because they're carrying more pain than any other kid should be able to carry. A kid's life is supposed to be happy. A kid's life is where you come home and your parents hug you and they say do your homework and they give you a phone and you get to have happy times and you get to play in a park. That's what a kid's life is supposed to be. But that's not what every kid's life is. And some kids have more pain than they can carry because their home lives are awful. And if you have that much pain in your life, and you're 13, 14, 12, 16, how are you supposed to carry that pain? They're human. They're just as human as you are. They can't carry that pain. So they unleash that pain on others. You want to know why kids bully? That's why they bully. Because they're in pain and they hurt and they're unhappy and they're angry. In all my years of teaching, that's what I've learned. Because every time I have kids come and talk to me about this kid's a bully and this kid's a jerk and there's nothing good about this kid, when I end up talking to that kid and have conversations with them, I hate to tell you this, but they're human and they hurt and they're sad and they don't know how to handle the pain and they're lashing out because every adult in their life hates them. And that's more than a kid should take. So they turn to drugs and they turn to alcohol and they turn to bullying others because they don't know how to handle it. So here's one of the toughest things I'm going to ask you to do ever in your life. When someone is mean to you, when you have that kid that bullies you, that posts nasty things about you, who makes fun of you in the hallway, who pushes you, and makes you want to do that horrible, awful, revenge, nasty thing to them, don't. Do the toughest thing in the world. Forgive them. Be nice to them. It's how I teach. If you've noticed in my classroom, I have kids who are angry and mean and lash out, and I can tell they're in pain. And I make them be responsible. I make them do homework, but I'm not mean to them because they don't need meanness. They need kindness. The people who need kindness the most in our lives are the people who least deserve it. It's easy to be kind to nice people. It's hard to be kind to awful people, but they need it more than anybody else. If you take anything away from today, it is that. That's how we make the world a better place. If you're hurting and you're sad and you realize that life is awful, talk to someone, please. Talk to me. I mean, that's why you see me get emotional, is because right now, I don't know. I don't know which kids are hearing this. And every year when kids become 8th graders, I'm always shocked by which kids stay in contact with me, which kids come back and talk to me. Kids that through all the 7th grade, I thought they had the right life. And then they come and say, hey, you know that talk you gave about pain? That's me. Then, and I don't know, and that's part of this right now, is that's what's hitting me, is I don't know which kids this is hitting. And so many kids have no one to reach out to and talk. Because every adult in their life is awful to them. Every adult yells at them. All of their teachers are mean to them. And they have nowhere to turn. So if you happen to be one of those kids who is listening, and that is you, reach out. I will respond. I respond to every kid who contacts me. For some of you, I serve a different role for different kids. That's one of the things I've learned. For some of you, what you needed this year was a happy, outgoing, friendly, joking teacher who is different than anything you've ever experienced. And you lead a pretty happy life, and you got to enjoy yourself in my class. And I made you giggle when I harassed certain kids, and you and I bonded, and that was great. And for you, oh my God, I'm so happy I could have that role for you. But I know that is not the role I play for every kid. For other kids this year, my room was a safe place because every adult that they went in contact with was mean to them. Every teacher just yelled at them and called them dumb. I don't know if you paid attention to it this year, but I never called a single kid dumb. I will never call a kid dumb. I will never call a kid stupid. I will call your choices dumb. I will say what you chose to do behavior wise was dumb, but I will never call a kid dumb. And for some kids, my room is a safe place. They get to come to my room and they get to feel happy for an hour. They get to have 1 hour where they got to interact with someone who treated them like a human, and smiled at them and tried to make them a better place. And for those kids, I absolutely know that was the role I played for you. For others of you, I was the only adult that smiled. Um, and I have so many kids who just, adults seem to be jerks, and adults and teachers just seem to be mean to kids. And they came to my room, and that was the one place that didn't happen. And I didn't realize how important that was until my past students came back to talk to me. And that's when I realized the difference. And then for others of you, I know I play a different role. And I've been a guidance counselor. I've been a shoulder that you've cried on. I've been that person that you've shared things with that you never thought you'd share with anyone else. And I listen with an open heart because it's who I am. And for others of you, you didn't realize that was an option. You didn't realize it was a thing you could do, that you could reach out to an adult or reach out to me and talk. So I offer that to you. If you did not realize it was available, it is. It sometimes takes me a while to get back to kids as far as messaging goes, remind, Instagram, email, but I'll get back to you. You just got to give me time. I have my own issues. There are 2 teenage girls who live in my house, and I love them. I love them more than you guys. Don't take offense at that, but I love my own children more than you guys do. But I'll find time for you guys. And also realize for some of you guys, or some of my students, when I yell at you, when I make you stand in my class, when I hold you responsible in my room, when any adult or teacher yells at you and holds you responsible, that's a good thing. You want adults to yell at you. You want adults to take your phone. You want adults to punish you. You want them to ground you. You don't think so at the time, but the alternative is awful. You guys read Outsiders. You remember Bob? Bob lived in a world where his parents didn't do that. I've had students come through my classroom whose parents don't do that. I know you guys know other kids who say their life is perfect because their parents are never home and they get to have parties on the weekends and they get to have whatever games they want and they can have a monster with dinner and all those things. And that does not bring happiness. I will guarantee you every single one of those kids would trade in a heart moment to have parents who are there for them and talking to them. When a parent yells at you, when an adult holds you responsible, that's the way of saying I love you. It's the way of saying I care. I know this because when we stop caring, we stop yelling at you. When a teacher stops making you be responsible, that means they've given up on you. When a parent stops grounding you for your poor choices, that means they've given up on you. And I don't give up on kids. That's why all the way to the end, I'm sending emails to parents, and I made you guys stand during class, and I held you guys responsible because I don't give up on you. And I don't want you to give up on you. The scariest thing in the world is when you realize there's no one yelling at you when you do something wrong. When you do a bad thing, whether it's getting arrested or not doing homework or sneaking out late at night, and you do that thing and no one yells at you, that's bad, because that means there's no one there to care. Which is why I have those kids who come and talk to me when they've made those poor choices. Because even though I love you guys and I will forgive you guys, I care, and I will absolutely do what I can for you. All right, I'm gonna have to wrap this up. Thank you guys for this year. It's been a weird year, but my God, you guys were good kids. For one, just to tell you guys, that thing that made me smile, you guys know I harassed my fifth period this year. If you who are in my fifth period, and the fact that you guys are my running joke of kids I got to pick on, because fourth period I talk about, oh my God, I have to go to fifth period, and then sixth period I was like, oh my God, I survived fifth period, and then during fifth period I was like, oh my God, I'm in fifth period. The best turnouts I've had on my Socrativs, on my Zooms, it's fifth period. Like, hands down. Like, if I go through and look at things, you guys do your stuff. That's why I love you guys. As much as I harassed you, you guys were such good kids. This whole school year, we're good kids. Like, I didn't have bad kids on my team, even fifth period kids I had to put into the hallway. And those of you who are in fifth period know who I'm talking about. They're not bad. Like, I didn't have jerks on our team. We didn't have bullies on our team. And I know there are some of our school. I know some of you guys didn't get along with other kids, but trust me when I tell you, even those kids you didn't get along with, they're not bad. They're injured. They're sad. I had conversations with them, but they're not bad. As a teacher, it was a good year. Part of what hits me right now is I got robbed of it. You guys were a good year. And there's so many years of teaching that I would have happily given up a fourth of a year to not interact with students. I've had bad years. I've had years where I thought about quitting because I couldn't handle it because the kids are just awful. But that wasn't you guys this year. You guys were a fun year. I really enjoyed it. As a teacher, my job is only as enjoyable as the kids I teach. And you guys made for a really enjoyable year. So I appreciate that. And I say thank you for that, for making my year fun. Even though I had stress and there were definitely some tough times this year, I wouldn't have traded it for the world. Well, except for the fact that I wish I could have had a fourth 9 weeks with you guys and that we could be doing this face to face and you could watch me weep and cry openly in front of you. Plus, I don't get to hug you. That's usually what I get to do on the last day. As kids leave, I get to hug them, and I don't get to hug you guys today. I think that breaks me on a level that I'm not really prepared for. But be good people. Make the world a better place. The idea that one person can't change the world is wrong. I'm one person. I'm one kid that was a dorky, quiet kid in junior high who ditched his best friend to try and be popular, who got arrested 3 times, and who led a life that no one should envy. And I'm one person. And I changed the world. If I can do it, you can do it. Just kindness, happiness. Try to make each person you encounter's life better than worse. It's a choice you can make. At some point, become a strong enough person to make the world better, to make each human you interact with a better person. If you want to thank me, if you want to appreciate me, if you want to go on from this moment and make me proud, do that. Just make other people happy. How can the world be awful if you spend your time making other people happy? All right, I'm going to stop there. Give me a second. And then those of you who want to talk, I'm more than happy to. I'm done with emotions. Crying is for weak people. I hate you all. You're all horrible children. Um, I hope I never see any of you again. And any other lies I can think of to help the emotions go down. All right, I'll be back in just a second. Okay, happy thoughts. Nothing but happy thoughts moving forward. All right, got that. Happy thoughts to there and to there. I appreciate all you guys who watched and stuff like that. For those of you who, if I hit upon emotions, I apologize, which is why I tell you this end of the year one's a little bit different. I didn't always used to do the story. Like I said, I used to do movies at the end of the year. Oh my God, that's so much easier. Ending the year like watching The Outsiders. Oh, you know how many tears I cry watching The Outsiders? None whatsoever. It's kids dying. That's hilarious. So that'd be a much easier thing to do. But no, I've got to do emotions and bonding and stuff like that. So, and that's also why I tell you guys the stories and things like that. It's weird how 22 years of teaching, how my year and what I have done have changed and how I have refined and tried to get stronger and stuff like that. And like that end story, like the end story, the end talk I just did, like normally I change it for each class. Like I've got like an hour and a half of talking I could do easily. And I didn't even get to everything on here. I had to stop because I was done being all teary. It was like I just couldn't do it. So I didn't get to everything I wanted to say, but we'll just have to roll with it from there. So normally, when it's not like a Zoom and you guys are all smashed together, I do like first period, I do ones just aimed at those kids. And then third period, I change it. And I bring up stuff just for my third period kids. And then when I get to fifth period, it's just my fifth periods. And so like bits and pieces of it may be the same, but there's information and stories that I want to tell that apply to just certain groups of kids. And then along those same lines, watching your guys' faces change how I tell stories, seeing what you guys react to and what you don't react to. And what kills me and what I had to do with the whole changing the video screens, it kills me when I watch you guys react to this. Because some of you, I'm watching you react and you're sitting there and you're stoic. There's like no tears. And others of you are playing video games, which I'm absolutely fine with. But it's those of you who I see it hitting hard, who all of a sudden I start talking about a thing, and then all of a sudden I just see you break out into tears. That breaks me. And not in a bad way. It's just the fact that it's that I know that those words hit home for you. And it's tough when it's person to person and it's not on Zoom, because then you guys can just, it's like right there. And I have kids who are like crying in class, and it makes it all kinds of levels and tough and things like that. Moving forward from here, as you guys go into 8th grade, I think it's probably fairly safe to say you're probably not going to get a lot of teachers like me. Apparently, I'm just sort of my own who I am, for better or for worse, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, it might be a good thing that you're not going to run into teachers who've been arrested 3 times and stuff like that. But realize also, I didn't become who I am until late in life. It's not like what you see me. Don't imagine like this version of me was like in junior high And it was like all this level of awesome. It wasn't. Like junior high version of me was awful. And even like beginning years teaching me, when I go back and talk to my students I taught at the very beginning, like I didn't used to tell stories. I cared about people, but it's not the same thing. So when you guys have teachers in the future, be nice to them. Realize you can impact a teacher's life. Part of teaching is when you interact with kids, as much as you hate some teachers, teachers teach because they love kids, because they love the information. The problem is not all of them are good at it. There's a difference between wanting to do a thing and being good at a thing. And you're going to come across a lot of teachers in your life who want to be a teacher, who love kids, but they just aren't good at it. Forgive them. I know this because my daughters have had those kinds of teachers. My past students have had those kinds of teachers. Those of you who go on to college is rife with those kinds of ones. And realize that you'll have to forgive them and try to be nice to them on some level. And for you guys this year, I have no idea how your world is going to be because of quarantine, because of coronavirus. I don't know what next year is going to be. My God, I hope that we get to see each other face to face, but I'm scared. It might be Zoom. It might be some combination thereof. It might be completely gone by then. I don't know. It might be the fact that maybe you guys aren't going to have to worry about drugs and alcohol and going to parties because you're not going to be going to parties and seeing other people. So that's not going to be an option. So you're going to have other issues about how the fact that you got addicted to TikTok or something. So who knows what you're, but all I know is what I've experienced in the past and like what I can pass along to you. And then in the future from there, just if you don't feel comfortable talking to me, talk to somebody, even if it's friends. We have new counselors next year. Both our school counselors retired this year. So we have 2 new counselors coming in. And so they're awesome. From talking to them, they are incredible. So it's one of those things where if you don't talk to me, oh my God, I highly recommend you go talk to our counselors, because our counselors next year will be able to help you and do wonderful things for you. For those of you who aren't in therapy, I recommend therapy. I come from a family of therapists. I come from a family of people who go to therapy, and talking to people is wonderful. It's like talking to me. But I will tell you this. If you go to a therapist, they're like teachers. You have to find one you get along with. If you could imagine having a teacher who you don't get along with trying to tell you this information, it's not going to work. If you go to therapy, don't stop until you find one you get along with. Find a therapist that you bond with, and it's like having me as a teacher, and oh my God, do they help. And they will help guide you and make you better. Yeah. My younger one's popping up.
Don't feel bad if you need to change therapists, because I know I feel guilty when I have a therapist that doesn't fit. Don't feel bad. It's their job. They connect with different people. They will not be hurt. They will understand because they want the best for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel the same way. I do not feel, if you're not getting along with a therapist, it is not against I don't get along with every kid. Now, I know all y'all hanging out in here with me, you're like, but you're so wonderful, Mr. Broviak. And I know I'm wonderful, but there's definitely kids who don't think so. And there's definitely parents who don't think so. I have had parents who tried to get, multiple parents tried to get me fired this year because apparently there's just some people I don't get along with, and they don't like my methods. And so that's just the way it's going to be. Even me, who everyone seems to think is like this wonderful person, I'm not joking when I said I had multiple parents go to the superintendent saying I should be removed as a teacher and I should not be around kids. And it was not because of things like hitting kids. It was because of things like making them do homework and stuff like that.
And
the fact that I should not be around kids because I'm a bad influence because of the fact of how I interact with them. Luckily, our principal is outstanding. And she's like, no, you're crazy parents. But the fact is, you're not going to get along with everybody. Even I don't get along with everybody. And my whole life is built around trying to make the world a better place. Some people just don't like that. So as you move forward, if people don't like you, don't let that be a thing that bothers you. Just shake it off. You can't make everyone like you. If not everyone's going to like me and I'm as close to a perfect person as you can get, then it's not going to happen. Is my ego getting a little strong right now?
Very.
Oh, all right. For those of you who stuck around, here's a little bonus thing for you. So you might have picked up on this little bit of confidence thing I'm throwing at you, my whole cocky attitude. That's a complete act, by the way. I am a shy, quiet introvert on all levels. My natural form is sitting in the back of the room, not talking to other people. That sensation you have right now is your hair being blown backwards. Here's the thing. I realize that shy, quiet people who want to sit in the back of the room, they're not always happy. I saw people who were confident and outgoing and seemed to love the world, and everyone would turn to them all the time, and they seemed happy. And then I realized one other thing. Every confident person you see is pretending. It's an act. Every confident person. You talk to any famous actor, any famous person, anybody who is confident, if they're honest with you, they're going to tell you it's an act and it's make-believe, because that's what confidence is. You just pretend you're confident until people believe it. Because part of what we figured out, it's a psychology thing. If you keep telling people something, eventually they start to believe that. So if I just keep telling you that I'm confident and I'm awesome and I'm everybody's favorite person, and I say it often enough, you're like, maybe he's right. Maybe he is kind of awesome. And it slowly wears you down. Here's the thing. Anyone can do it. Trust me. I know this because I've had past students embrace it. I had a kid, one of my favorite ones, Maddie Shade, who had to move from 7th grade to 8th grade. And she went from my junior high to the other junior high. And at the end of the year, going into her junior high, she decided to completely change her personality. And she decided to fake being outgoing. And it worked. And she was astounded by it. And she was like, because no one knew me, I just faked being like this friendly, outgoing person. And all of a sudden, I became a friendly, outgoing person. What's scary is it really is that easy. You just have to decide. Those of you going into 8th grade next year, or those of you who are in high school right now, figure out who you want to be next year and just be that person. What is stopping you from being that person? Why are you not that confident, outgoing person? What stops you from doing it? You and your fear of what other people are saying. But if you stop caring what they say, then there's literally nothing stopping you. If you want to be confident and outgoing, be confident and outgoing. All I do each day is just go, well, I could be shy and quiet, or I could be confident and outgoing. And if I'm shy and quiet, people won't attack me. But if I'm confident and outgoing, people will attack me because it's intimidating and scary. Then I go, do I really care if they attack me? And I go, yes, I do. But I'm going to fake like I don't, and then I get through it. Because when people attack me for it, of course I care. I'm human. But at the same time, I just don't let it slow me down. So don't let it slow you down. Just embrace it. So there's one of your little bonus things. So I have like a whole thing I get to go on about being confident and embracing who you are and stuff like that. But that's like another half-hour talk that I save for some of my classes. And I've already babbled long enough as it is. Tomorrow is a much happier day. I plan on doing a much happier story. I plan on doing a much more giving you guys an interaction thing and stuff like that. The only tears we should have tomorrow are tears of laughter, because there are definitely some hilarious parts in tomorrow's story. Because if you're imagining right now me in a fight, you might not remember me describing me in junior high when I was talking about the fact that I was like a pipe cleaner. I was like a pipe cleaner. Now imagine a pipe cleaner getting into a fight with somebody, and that pretty much gives you an idea of what it's going to go like. So it is every bit as an entertaining story. Plus, the other joy you're going to have is my daughters don't know this story. So they've both chosen to come and sit in the background, and we're going to have a live audience as they are going to try and harass me through the story. So it's going to be all kinds of entertaining. So that's my gift for you guys on that one. Yes, I see you, fluffy hair. What's that, Braden?
Okay, so you're gonna be sitting like this?
I might mention that during the story. I don't want to ruin things yet, but let's say that I might talk about that at some point during it. Yes. The one, yeah, good job, Laura. I know as soon as you saw us, the one thing you can't forget, as soon as you hear Greek mythology, is going to come right back to you. There is no letting that come out of your brain. You guys will be haunted forever. All right. Here's the part where I'm going to kick you out because I'm afraid if I don't, you guys are just going to sit there and I'm going to babble at you forever. And I need to go and say mean things to children to find my happy place. And I can't say mean things to you because I like all of you. So I'm going to have to go find random kids on the street. And we're going to see how that goes. Again, for those of you who want to join tomorrow, same time, 10:30. Laura, if you're wanting to join again tomorrow, just send me a message and I'll let you know what the password is for tomorrow. And that's absolutely fine with me. The rest of you, thanks. Honestly, just thank you. You made this year worthwhile for me, and I cannot thank you enough. So, thank you. Make you cry again. I can't do this.